Welcome to Impactful Qualitative Research, What Makes It Possible. My name is Mayra Quintanilha, and today I'm going to talk to you about how to design, implement, and write publishable, useful, mic drop worthy qualitative health research. In today's webinar, I'm going to show you how you can be more impactful in your qualitative research. By the end of our time together, you are going to learn 4 keys to impactful qualitative research. I hope you are excited because we are about to start. I am inviting you to turn off all distractions. This is going to be a short webinar, and I am sure you are going to get a lot from it if you are able to concentrate, take notes, use the workbook to make the most of it. First, I want to say that you might be here because you feel unsure about how to provide guidance to collaborators and trainees when it comes to qualitative research methods. Or you feel your qualitative research has transformed you personally and you need to expand that transformation to others, but you are not sure how to do it. I want to tell you that whatever your motivation to embrace qualitative research and watch this training is, I am here to offer you my support and enthusiasm. So let me tell you a bit about who I am. My name is Mayra Quintanilha, and I am the founder and principal researcher at Qualitative. I finished my PhD in 2020. And my PhD was what I would consider a very successful one because I received great funding to conduct my research. My project was 100% qualitative, and by the time I defended, I had published all chapters within my thesis. I had presented at over 10 conferences, both nationally, locally, and internationally. Most importantly, the funding that I received enabled me to start my journey as a mother. And those are the 2 most important chapters of my thesis. My kids, and they were both born during my PhD. Why am I telling you all about myself at this point? I'm telling you all of that because I want you to know that you can be successful and have the results and the impact you want as a qualitative researcher. And I truly believe that. So here we are, 2 years into Qualitative, and I am very excited to be presenting to you this training as another opportunity for you to learn about how to conduct impactful qualitative research. Here is our outline for today. We'll cover 4 keys to impactful qualitative research, from designing to writing, what you can do now to make impactful qualitative research possible, and the number 1 result to rigorous qualitative research. Starting with key number 1, and that is your research question or questions. Your research question is important because it focuses your work. Qualitative data is extremely rich, and we can pretty much take our interviews or focus groups in many directions once we start collecting and analyzing the data. When you have a research question in mind, you feel more guided and focused in your work. And there are a couple of options that you might consider at this point. Many start with a central general question that really allows you to go in different directions depending on where your data takes you. However, it's also possible to build a central question and under that have a certain number of sub-questions. And those sub-questions will subdivide the central question into more specific topical questions. For example, in my PhD work, the last study was an investigation of women's experiences with food insecurity. Let's say that I had an interest in planning programming for them within the organization that I was working with. I could be looking at a sub question that involved what are women's main thoughts about programming related to budgeting around food? How do women see their roles in managing the finances at home? So on and so forth. So you can see how, with what I have in mind, with the interest the researcher has in mind, there are a number of options that can be developed as sub questions. Another important aspect is that your research question determines your choice of methodology. And a good example that I have been given came from a qualitative research blueprint member in the summer of 2021. This person shared that they wanted to investigate the experiences of academic women who are starting their careers across academic institutions in the US while juggling their roles as mothers, becoming a mother and having young children while building a career in academia. When they shared with me that overall purpose, I highly recommended that they would consider some form of ethnographic study because there are certain social norms within that group of being an academic woman. So, within the group of academics and those who are women and socialize as women and who are also mothers, that will really shape how participants in that case will see their careers, their roles, their aspirations, and their future within academic institutions. And this is one point that I really want to make clear here. Your research question will be a very important part when you look at the methodological congruence of your whole study. How your question is phrased and framed will really shape and determine your choice of methodology, your methods, your number of participants, your approach to data analysis, so on and so forth. What else to consider then? Also, consider the existing literature in your area. And here's a suggested reference that I find short and highly effective, and it's Writing an Effective Literature Review, Part 1, Mapping the Gap. This is a paper that I recommend to most people, students, and academics that I work with. Other two aspects to consider: your experiential knowledge, especially if you are a practitioner who is observing and seeing things in the field in your area, as well as the participant and community driven needs, especially in those research approaches that are more participatory, that are involving community members, that are allowing them to share what they perceive as important research questions to be answered by the research. And remember that in qualitative research, you may revisit, reframe, and rewrite your research questions in response to what is emerging in the data. This is usually something that makes quantitative researchers or those that have been traditionally trained in more positivist paradigms highly uncomfortable. But in qualitative research, revisiting your research question and responding to it when you start looking at the data is part of being responsive. And this is something that we'll touch on again when we talk about key number 3. So, another example from my PhD research. My PhD research started with a research question that was about how women manage their weight during pregnancy and postpartum. However, I was working with women who coped with multiple life adversities and challenges that included immigration, that included language barriers, low income, and many other factors. For them, a question about weight management really didn't resonate. How was I even going to move forward with that research question when I quickly realized that women were not making food choices thinking about their weight, but more about their survival and stretching the money they had or even however they could get any food. So that's when we revisited and reframed the research question and made it more general about what it meant for women to be healthy during pregnancy and postpartum. So now we move to key number two, which is about sampling and recruitment. Saldanha and Omassa describe sampling as parameters and procedures used for selecting the specific participants for a study. When you think about recruitment, it is really how you get those participants that you want to have in your research. So it might be participants, but it might be also the documents that you need for your qualitative research, or the photographs or the visual data that you were seeking to collect data for your qualitative research. Something that is really important to say here is that nothing differentiates quantitative and qualitative methods more explicitly than the logic behind sampling. In quantitative research, random sampling mitigates bias. The sample size is calculated based on statistical power. In qualitative research, on the other hand, we seek participants and data that can help us to deeply understand the phenomenon of interest. This is why we need to be careful and think about bias not as a weakness of qualitative research, but as a strength in how we sample participants and data. We seek participants that can help us understand the phenomenon of interest. And that is what makes qualitative research rich and possible from the perspective of garnering data that is extremely detailed, full of new concepts and ideas that can contribute to our areas of research and study. A few things to keep in mind. Don't guesstimate the sample size and or recruit the wrong participants. This is a fully loaded point. Don't guesstimate the sample size refers to the fact that there needs to be methodological congruence when you choose your methods, your methodology, and calculate your sample size. If you were doing phenomenology and as a reviewer, I look at your paper or proposal and you have a large number of participants, in fact, anything beyond 10, 12 would raise a flag for me, a red flag for me. So we have to be congruent with the methodology we are following, with the approach to research we are also trying to achieve. Another important aspect is the wrong participants don't mean that people are wrong. It only means that those that are being recruited might not have the experience with the topic of research that you're trying to understand. So if you're trying to study a very, very unique health condition or certain circumstance, you really need to go to those that have experiences with that health condition or with a particular scenario in their lives. So that's when we say don't seek the wrong participants, which means those that cannot help you. Seek and find more data, more answers, more information about what you're trying to understand. And don't overlook equity, diversity, and inclusion. You're using purposeful sampling in your qualitative research. That really gives you an important tool to be more equitable, to seek participants that are often excluded from research and who are often not given an opportunity to participate, to voice their opinions and perspectives. So seek those that are important to be heard as we try to be more diverse, more equitable, and more inclusive in our research projects. Key number 3 is reflexivity. Reflexivity, as seen in Enosh and Benari, is suggested as something that is geared toward that which is implicit, not self-evident or given. Reflexivity enables attentiveness to interpretations and decision-making along the research process. And this often leads to data responsiveness. I want to say that many look at reflexivity, and because it is something that is not only subjective but abstract, we look at it and say, how can I really do that? How can I look for what is implicit, not self-evident? I don't have that quality. That's not me. I don't know how to do that. And I like this quote by Karen Lemston because it brings the idea home that you are not a good or bad researcher when it comes to practicing reflexivity as your natural trait. It's not a quality of the researcher. It is a practice. It's something that you need to do, to try to do consistently so you can hone that practice, apply, and really keep it in mind throughout the research process. So here's a question for you to consider and think as you are conducting your research. How do you stay attuned to and capture incongruences, contradictions, and discomfort in your qualitative data and or own interpretations? Key number 4, and our last key, is writing. Writing is not a final task. It's part of qualitative data analysis, a way of knowing and discovering. Don't leave writing for after you finish your whole data analysis. Start throughout. Take some time to just put ideas that are coming to you as you're analyzing data on paper. And remember that writing about your data makes it easier for you to see the big picture, to recognize novelty, to engage in a necessary creative process. Writing is a powerful way to foster practicing reflexivity and to enable rigor in qualitative research. That picture was actually designed for QualiQ in an effort to highlight how much is inside the qualitative researcher's head as we are going through our research projects. It often gets messy, it feels cluttered. There are colors, shapes, all those things that we are seeing, and we need to sort them out. And writing will help you to do that. Excellent qualitative research is written in a way that is elegant, logical, flowy. The reader can easily underestimate the work and effort it took to get there. But the reality is that as qualitative researchers, we know how much it takes to craft a paper, a publication, a report that is well written, that is logical, engaging, and interesting. Next, what you can do now to build more rigor into your qualitative research. First, let me tell you what I think rigor means and is. Rigor is demonstrating how and why, through methodology, the findings of a particular inquiry are worth paying attention to. So you're basically showing your reader, showing your audience why your research matters. So what? Why should they care? So thinking about that, you're really thinking about rigor in a way that encapsulates and includes all the four keys that we discussed here today. And I really want you to think about rigor as something that makes it possible, and it being impactful qualitative research. So, the four keys I outlined here today are a great start for you to consider when you're thinking about your own research. If you feel you need more specific directions and specific aspects to be considered and listed to you, here are two readings, two papers that can really help you think and operationalize the aspects that we discussed here today. So, with that, I want you to know that the number one result to rigorous qualitative research is surprise! It's not one thing. There are multiple things that result of qualitative research that is done well, that is rigorous, that is impactful. And those include rigorous findings, publications, meaningful relationships, community impact, and field recognition. It is possible. I believe it, and I hope you can see that as you are moving through your research with more rigor and more strategies to implement what it means to be rigorous. Now, if you are someone who wants to learn more about those four keys and how to get there, I want to invite you to join us for Qualitative Research Blueprint. Qualitative Research Blueprint is a self-study course through which you will feel confident about moving your qualitative research project along by learning how to design, implement, and write rigorous, impactful qualitative research. When you enroll into QRB, you will define and describe your approach to rigor in qualitative research, complete your correct checklist, learn the pillars of well-known qualitative methodologies, outline key factors to consider during qualitative data collection, plan strategies to write rich and timely qualitative results. QRB is now offered as a self-study course that includes 6 modules with videos, transcripts, PDF slides, and PDF guides. And you also gain access to the Qualitative Research Blueprint private Facebook group, where you are able to ask questions and interact with people who have taken QRB in the past. These are all the comments we have received about QRB over the past year and a half. And I am very humbled by all the things I have heard about this course, because you can see how QRB made a difference in these researchers' research and lives and professional careers and what they believed about themselves. Our work as qualitative researchers is a big part of our identities. And QRB really delves into that and helps you to really shape and better understand who you are and what your goal is as a qualitative researcher. You can find all the information you might need to make a decision about QRB on this website. I hope you liked this training, and if you are ready to delve into all those 4 keys and much more, consider joining QRB. It is a wonderful course, and it has a lot of packed material that I have no doubt will be helpful to you as you learn how to be more impactful in your own qualitative research. Thank you very much, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.